All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
Have you ever killed a houseplant before? Don't worry, you are not alone. But what if I told you you're not destined to be a plant killer? What if I told you you could not only fill your home with gorgeous, luscious, happy, thriving plants, but live a happier life through caring for them? Hey, new plant friend, my name is Maria. I am a former plant killer turned happy plant lady and host of the Growing Joy with Plants podcast, where it is my life's mission to help you grow happy plants and thrive alongside them. Because when you learn to care for plants, you really learn to slow down, connect with nature, and nurture yourself too. Each week, I share expert tips, inspiring conversations, and soulful planty wisdom to help you grow a greener, happier life. So if you're ready to turn your plant struggles into plant joy and get the green thumb you've always dreamed of, search Growing Joy with Plants wherever you listen to podcasts and hit subscribe. That's Growing Joy with Plants podcast. Let's grow some joy together.
Coming up on episode 269 of Wheel Bearings, we got the Mille Miglia warm-up, the Nissan Z, the VW Jetta GTI, BMW's big EV investment in South Carolina, GMC's Sierra EV Denali Edition 1, updated Ford Escape, Toyota Crown, Argo AI shutting down, and the CEO of Lamborghini, Stephan Winkelmann. This is episode 269 of Wheel Bearings. I'm Sam Abu-Al-Samad from Guidehouse Insights.
And I am Nicole Wicklam from the Fast Women podcast.
And Robbie is in Japan, I think.
Yes,
I think he's still in Japan.
I think he's still there, yes.
And sorry we didn't, Robbie and I didn't manage to get a show out for you last week. He had some last minute things he had to do before going to Japan, and so we just could not get our shit together.
I love the honesty. Could not get our shit together. Sorry, everybody.
But for those of you that are Patreon supporters, yes. You did get some content in your Patreon feed this week. An interview I did with Mikhail Jung-Aust, who is a cognitive scientist at Volvo. And we talked about their driver understanding system that's going to be debuting on the new EX90 and also on the Polestar 3 and then coming to other vehicles as well. It's a really interesting conversation. At least I thought it was interesting. So, if you want to hear it, subscribe, support us on Patreon, or, eventually it'll show up on the main show as well. But, you can hear it now on the Patreon feed.
There you go.
So, Nicole.
Yes.
Tell us, why weren't you here last week?
I was very busy. So I was I had a bunch of stuff to do last week. I headed out to Michigan for a hot minute to drive some vehicles for the North American Car and Truck of the Year, our semifinalist. And then I flew back to Middleburg, Virginia, where I did the Mille Miglia warm-up, which is like a mini version of the crazy thing they run in Italy. And Alfa Romeo gave us a Stelvio, me and Eilleen Falkenburg-Hull, who is my co-host at Fast Women, and we drove that through and learned how to do it. Sam, are you familiar with what they actually have to do in this race
is
in
this
Italy?
Like a proper, like a road rally where you've got timing, you've got to hit every segment's got to be done within a certain time window and so on.
Yeah, so it's fewer miles and fewer cars than what you have in the Italian one. In the Italian one, everything has to be
the name Mille Miglia.
Right.
Literally means 1,000 miles.
Right.
Yes.
And so we don't do that many. We do about half that. And in Italy, they all have to be 1957. I hope it's 57. It might be 59. 1957 or earlier. In the U.S., there's the 1957 or earlier group of cars, but you can also enter newer cars, which is why we were able to drive in a Stelvio, which you could not drive if you're doing the one in Italy. These cars are amazing. And some of these people had their cars brought over from Italy, and They're these beautiful old vehicles. They were just gorgeous. And a lot of these guys, because apparently this kind of race is a lot more popular in Italy, like you can join car clubs and kind of like do this on your weekend, like we do Cars and Coffee. It's like, hey, let's do this rally this weekend. And the thing that was different for me, because I've never done this before, I don't know if you have, Sam, but it makes me think of the little rubber tubes that you run over like in a gas station that was still self-service. So when you run it over, it goes like ping, ping to let you know you're in the gas station. Well, you hit one of those and then you have, say, 10 seconds to get to the next one. Exactly 10 seconds. Not 10.1, 10. And for every 100th of a second you're off, you get a penalty. So, and then as soon as you hit the next one is, say, 18 seconds. And then the next one is 40 seconds. So you have stretches of these sort of time trials like that. And it's not like this distance is consistent. You might have to hit the same little distance in 10 seconds. It might be twice that for the next one, and it could still be 10 seconds. So it's not easy. Like hitting that little rubber thing and then hitting that little rubber tube again, it's really hard. Like, it seems like it should be easy.
So do you have pace notes to work from and that tell you, like, you know, your time for this segment is 20 seconds and here's the speed you need to be going to do that?
They don't tell you a speed. They just tell you have to get from, like, it'll be like, say there's 5 of them. It'll be like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 18 seconds, 17 seconds. So you know the time. And you have this little thing called a Zero. It's the company that makes it. So it's a little time device that your navigator can use. And as you hit the first little tube, they can click it. And then you can see it counting down. So you have a sense of like, how far have I gone and how, like as the driver, how far have I gone and how far do I need to go in the however many seconds are remaining on that thing. But again, it's timing. Like it's not, that isn't tied into the tube. So it's your amount of your navigator looking at it and going, you hit it now. And if they're a few, like a little bit over, a little bit under, then your guess is a little bit over, a little bit under. You know what I mean? So, and they spend the first day of the one in the U.S. as a warm-up day, and they basically teach you this. And then you spend the whole, the day learning how to do that. And they also have the other sort of time thing, like you have to start the day at a certain time and end the day at a certain time to the minute. That's actually a little bit easier because they have a clock right there. And, you need to come in at 3:42. You wait for it to 3:42. You pull up, you hand in the card, as long as you haven't gotten horribly lost and are late. But the other thing you have to do is they'll have a stretch of road and it will say, okay, starting here, from here, you have to drive at exactly 51 kilometers per hour for, this many miles. But it's not a straight line, a flat road. There's turns and there's hills and there's uphills. So your navigator is looking at an app and trying to make sure that you're staying on that average. And you as the driver are going a little bit faster, a little bit slower, a little bit faster, a little bit slower to stay on it. So it's all about this precision that you're trying to do. And we'd never done it before, completely never even tried this anywhere before. So we were novices at that. And I feel like we learned a lot. We came up with our own sort of little way of communicating, like for how fast to go and to slow down. And we did pretty good, Sam. We thought that we initially were like, I just want to finish and not be last. I just want to finish and not be last. Like that was my goal.
I'm assuming based on your tone that you weren't last.
I was not last. So they finish up the whole thing. This is cute because it's outside of Washington, D.C. You go into the Italian embassy. So you're finishing on Italian soil. Cute, right? So we're listening to the announcement. And I thought, okay, maybe for the later era, the post-Miglia era, maybe we'll get like third. We'd have to do really good today to get third. Let's see if we get third. Maybe we'll do it. And they announced the team that's in third. And I literally turned to Eilleen and I'm like, I swear. I'm like, damn it. I must have screwed up. I'm so sorry. I screwed it up. And then they're like, and in second place, team 19. And I'm like, wait, that's us. So we actually got second place for the modern cars. They give us a little trophy. And then what we didn't catch is in addition to getting second place for the modern car, we were the number one novice. We were the best finish for any novice regardless of the car, which means you get a guaranteed acceptance into the one in Italy. So I still have to have a car, you still pay the entry fee, you still have to do that, but I guess there's normally around 800-ish people who apply to drive in it in every year that they have the money, they have the car, they have everything is just right, but then the race organizers decide which cars they want. So they might only take like 600. So you're not guaranteed, even if you have everything good to go, that they will say, yes, you can race. Well, this little certificate that Eilleen and I got means like, as long as you get a car that fits, you can race.
So is Alfa Romeo going to loan you an old
Well,
an old
the
car
other
to race?
I haven't figured everything out yet, but the other part of it is that, where it can only be old cars, they do have an EV category that you can run in now. Of course, the EVs are not old cars. The EVs are new cars. So it's TBD, to be determined exactly what, how, who we will be doing for Italy, because this literally, we just wrapped this up, I don't know, like a couple of days ago. It feels like, if not that long ago. So, but it was really amazing. And I got to say, the people in this rally the organizers were some of the nicest, kindest, most supportive people I have ever experienced at any like kind of rally or race event ever. They were so unbelievably nice and helpful.
So did you and Eilleen take turns driving and navigating, or did you just pick one role?
Eilleen is truly, of the two of us, Eileen's a better navigator, and I think I'm a better precision driver. So I drove and Eilleen navigated, and it worked perfectly the whole time. She had a little book and she did everything. We even practiced stuff, like I was trying to time stuff, and I was like, I'm having a hard time figuring it, because on an old car, they actually put a little piece of tape on your door sill, on your windowsill, like on your door, to help you with this. You can kind of eyeball where your tires are if you just sort of lean out the car, right? If you lean out the little bit, you can't see that in a modern car because everything's too big because of all the safety things. So we had to sort of come up with a different way of trying to do it. And we were literally driving around Middleburg, and I'm like, okay, Eilleen, you're going to pick stuff and you're going to tell me how fast to get there, and we're just going to kind of count to practice. And she's like, okay, that trash can, that light post, those pink flowers, 18 seconds, 10 seconds, 12 seconds, go. And I'm like, So we were just kind of practicing in the morning to try to get a feel for things. And she was a fabulous navigator. She was amazing. She got us where we needed to be. She didn't get us lost. She was really, really good. So we learned a lot and had a good time. And again, amazing people, both the contestants in the rally and the people that ran it were just so wonderful and supportive. And the police officers in Middleburg, shout out to those guys, because there were some really nice guys. They recommended a place to us called Teddy's Pizza. Cops no pizza. It was really, really good.
Pizza and donuts.
Yeah, they gave me good pizza and good coffee. So thank you, Middleburg Police Department.
Excellent. Well, we'll have to see if we can hook you up with a really cool EV that you can get over there next year.
I know. There's options out there. It's June.
You've got the certificate that says you're in.
I got the certificate. I got the paper. I just gotta get a car to drive. And so we're getting the paper is actually a big deal. Like, well, we gotta do it. We got the paper. We gotta do it. So
fabulous.
Yeah.
All right. What have you been driving since you got home?
So since I got home, I've been driving a Nissan Z, and the color it's called Ikazuchi yellow and super black. So it's this bright yellow with a black roof. I have been telling people when they're like, I was meeting a friend for dinner. She's like, where are you? I'm look for the highlighter in the parking lot. It is so bright. It's this really bright yellow, which like on a, Nissan Rogue would look ridiculous. On a Nissan Z actually looks kind of cool. It works. It's one of those cars that can pull off that ridiculous color. But man, it is bright. And we were talking about this before the show. So I'm in New England and the leaves are falling. Leaves can leave like what looks like rust. They're not stains, but just like rusty marks on your car. Like they look like rust. It's just the color of the leaves. My car looks like someone just threw rusty water all over it. I'm like, oh my God, this poor car. But there's no way to prevent it. And it just shows up so much on the yellow. And I'm like, it's this brilliant, beautiful yellow that looks like it's all covered with like rusty water smears, but it's really just the leaves. It's for some reason they really show up on this car.
So what do you think of driving it?
It's super fun. Yeah. It's really, really fun. So it has a manual transmission. Woohoo! So I get to do the fancy footwork, which is fun because you just don't get very many cars with a manual transmission anymore. You just don't. And if you know how to drive one, it's sort of refreshing to get behind the wheel of one again. It's fun to be able to get on the highway and traffic is heavy and you think, oh, I want to get around. I'm like, wait, I can downshift. I can get around those guys. And just to downshift and get around heavier traffic and just the sort of sound and the visceral experience of driving a manual transmission. And this is a sporty car. This is a sports car. It's not pretending to be a sedan. It's not pretending to be something else.
There's no pretense of, it's like fake back seats.
It's not like, oh, you can put 4 people in here. No, you couldn't. Like, no way. Like, we're not even giving you back seats. Nope, we're not even going there. Like, this is a 2-passenger sports car that is all about being a sports car, and it does it well. It's unbelievably fun to drive. You get that little bit of harshness on like potholed streets. You feel it because of that sporty suspension, but like, you're buying a sports car. Don't buy a sports car if you don't want a little bit of harshness to it. Like, your trade-off is when you drive the streets of someplace like Michigan or New Hampshire, on occasion on side roads, it could rattle your fillings out. You won't care, because when you get on the highway, you can do the whole downshift thing and go fast and have a good time and enjoy it. You're like, oh, worth it. Who needs fillings?
And when you get on a twisting road, this car is so good.
It's so fun. I really genuinely like this. And this is the second time I've driven this. We had the Ragtop Ramble in the summer, which we drive from Massachusetts up to Maine. And I had the blue one. There's a really bright blue. I drove that one. It has a fantastic interior because there's blue accents in the interior. Which
I had that one back in July.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So I drove that and had a chance to drive it in the summer, but for much less time. And I'm like, this is really fun. Now I've had it for most of this week that I've been home. I've been driving this, and I'm like, gosh, this is a fun car. It's a little tight if you're tall, because my husband is 6'3", and when he sits down in that thing, it is like just barely going to let him sit in there. Just barely. It's like, okay, fine, but don't get too comfy because you can't. I think, and he sat in the driver's seat, and I said, tell me, could you? And he's like, the proportions are so small that to shift, to do the footwork is almost a little hard when he's like, I don't have the room to move my legs.
Knees are kind of up underneath.
Yeah. He's like, your knees kind of, he's like, it's a little too tight. He's like this, he's like, it was a sacrifice you'd be willing to make if it, for the fun of it. He's like, but it is at 6'3", it gets a little tight for somebody, just because there's just not that much room. But I mean, for everybody else, for people who aren't super tall, this is an unbelievably fun car, and it's not outrageously expensive. It's around, depending on what you get, like let's call it 49 to 52-ish somewhere. It's like $50,000 car, which isn't cheap, but it's also not like you're not spending $80,000 on this, So it's a somewhat affordable option in the grand scheme of sporty little cars. And it looks
actually,
cool.
the base model, the Z Sport, which has the same powertrain, same power, starts at $40,000.
Okay, so even better. Yeah, see, I had the performance, so mine was a little bit higher, but yeah, $40,000 for a legit sports car. Like they're not messing around. And the funny thing is, I was at Target, like one does, and had parked the car, and these like young guys that were in this like souped up BMW, because they were parked, like, we're head-in parking, and they were parked behind me, and they're, like, checking out the car, like, wow, they're all looking, and I'm like, this is going to be funny, because they're not thinking that I'm the person that's going to get into the car. And they're all checking, I click it to unlock it, and they, like, look, and I can see them do this, like, oh, nice car. I'm like, thanks, guys. As they hop back into their little BMW. So it does attract attention. Like, a lot of people commented on it. We're looking at it. I mean, partly because it's the color of a highlighter, but it also it's a good looking car, and it's unbelievably fun to drive. If you're looking for a fun sports car that's not going to make you broke, that is fun to drive and has a nice little manual transmission, Nissan Z. It's worth it.
And it's also, practical enough, for a weekend getaway with your partner. I happen to have had it in July, right before my wife and I went on vacation. And we drove it to the airport, and I dropped it off at the airport to be picked up. There's enough room in the back in the cargo area for 2 standard-sized carry-on bags, plus, a couple of backpacks and a few other odds and ends. So, there's enough room in there for you to get away for a few days and, not have to figure out where you're going to put all your stuff.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I had to run to the grocery store today, and I was not thinking about what I was driving, and on my list was toilet paper and paper towels, so I bought those giant things of it. And I literally, as I'm walking back to the car with my other groceries, I'm like, oh, this might have been a mistake. Like, I may have made an error. I'm like, we're going to find out. Open it up. If you put it, because, the roof, it's the glass is sloped. If you put it to the further back in their little trunk hatchback area, it fit. Like
Yeah.
I had the paper towels and the toilet paper on there. I'm like, they're not even squished against the glass. So there's like actually room. And the rest of my groceries fit in there too. So surprising little amount of cargo room. You can put stuff back there, which is nice.
That's what happens when you don't bother trying to put a fake back seat in.
Exactly. Instead, you have usable cargo room, which is far better because no one's going to ride in the back seat of all those little sports cars that say, we have seating for 4. No, you don't.
You have 4 seat belts. That's not the same as having seating for 4.
And you can seat 2 humans. That's it.
Oh, excellent. Smartphones have gotten way more expensive over the past decade, and all it takes is one impact on a hard floor to make you wish you had spent a few bucks to put a case on it. Going online without ExpressVPN is like not having a case for your phone, and it only costs a few dollars a month. Nicole, Robbie, and I travel a lot for our work, and we spend a lot of time in hotels, coffee shops, airplanes, and of course the Delta Sky Club. Connecting to the Wi-Fi in any public places with shared Wi-Fi puts your data at risk because bad actors could be intercepting what you send and using it to steal from you. It only takes some cheap hardware to intercept Wi-Fi data, and even a smart preteen can do it. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per victim selling personal information on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops the bad guys by creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. ExpressVPN uses state-of-the-art encryption that would take a supercomputer up to 1 billion years to crack. I have ExpressVPN on all my devices, including a MacBook Pro, Windows laptops and desktops, and Android and iOS phones and laptops, or tablets. When I want to be secure, I just launch the app, click once to connect, and my data is secure. As I said, I travel a lot for my work, and I have to connect to countless public Wi-Fi networks in many countries. I have ExpressVPN on all my connected devices so that whoever else is on the same network can't see any of my data. That's important because I often have to check banks, credit card accounts, and transmit client data that might be sensitive, as well as filing articles on news that might be under embargo. ExpressVPN protects all of it, and I've been paying for my own account for years. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/wheelbearings. That's expressvpn.com/wheelbearings, and you can get an extra 4 months for free. expressvpn.com/wheelbearings.
One of the hardest parts of getting older is feeling like something's off in your body, but not knowing exactly what. It's not just aging, it's often your hormones too. When they fall out of balance, everything feels off. But here's the good news. This doesn't have to be the story of your next chapter. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is an herbal formula made with science-backed ingredients designed to fine-tune your hormones by balancing estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol. It helps with common issues such as hot flashes, poor sleep, low energy, bloating, and more. With over 40,000 reviews and a bottle sold every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. A survey found 86% of women lost weight, 77% saw an improved mood, and 100% felt like themselves again. Start your next chapter feeling balanced and in control. For a limited time, get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
All right. Well, I also had something fairly sporty that also had a 6-speed manual transmission.
Ooh.
Which surprised me. It was the 2022 VW Jetta GLI Autobahn. So this is basically a GTI with a trunk is what it is. If you like driving a GTI, you will like driving this. Now, personally, if I was buying, and smaller cars like this, or small to mid-sized cars, I like having a hatchback. I like that extra flexibility of that large rear opening. But this is a sharp-looking car. I think it's better looking than the previous generation Jetta, and frankly, there's not that many sedans left in this segment. So if you want a sedan, the Jetta is one of the few that you can still get, and just about the only one you can still get with a manual transmission if you get the GLI. So this has a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, direct injected, 228 horsepower, 258 pounds-feet of torque. So it's the exact same powertrain that you get in a GTI. Basically, essentially the same suspension setup. Just adjusted marginally for the weight and any weight differences and so on, but essentially the same setup. And with the Autobahn, you get these really sharp-looking alloy wheels that kind of twisted around, twisted spokes. The one I had was in this lovely shade of red.
Ooh, nice.
And it had some red accents, in the grill, the lower part of the lower front corners. For what looked like the brake ducts, they've got little red bits of trim around there. Red brake calipers, of course.
Ooh, I see it. I just loaded up Volkswagen site. That's slick looking.
Yeah,
that looks good.
It's got comes with a sunroof on this one. Seats are comfortable. The 6-speed manual is a slick shifting gearbox. The engine is fairly torquey. It's not a muscle car, but it's plenty quick enough, and you will have a lot of fun tossing this thing around. It's got that classic VW handling. When you really push it, it'll lift the inside rear wheel a little bit, and you can balance it with a little bit of adjustment on the accelerator pedal. So it was great fun to drive. Really enjoyed it. This one, the infotainment system is not like the one that's in the ID4. So it's a little bit better interface. Still has some physical controls on there. It does have the touch controls on the steering wheel for the various controls on the 9 and 3 spokes, and it does have haptic feedback. So it's actually it's not the worst touch control setup I've found on a steering wheel.
I don't know if it's not the worst.
It actually feels like it's clicking. So it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Although there was a story this week, a VW executive, I think it might have been Oliver Bloom, the new CEO. Somebody from VW was saying that we're going back from those. We're going to get rid of those and put proper physical switches on there again.
Oh, on the steering wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll be getting physical controls back. Didn't say anything about whether the ID4 will also be getting some physical controls instead of the touch controls below the touch screen.
Okay.
That would be nice. But this is about the Jetta GLI, and if you want a compactish to slight lower mid-sized sedan with a manual transmission, you might want to go and grab one of these because I have a feeling that this may be the last one that's available in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think you might be right, Sam. I tend to agree with you.
You can still get a manual in the Civic, right? The Civic sedan.
The Civic, I think, still hasn't. But what's it, 2?
Yeah.
2?
So it's basically this and the Honda Civic. So if you want a manual in a sedan, these are probably your last choices. And
buy it now or forever hold your peace because they're not going to be around long.
Right, they're both great choices. They're both a lot of fun to drive. This has a little more power than what you can get at least in a Civic, SI or any of the standard Civics. Obviously not up to where a Type R is, but for a more mainstream model, this has plenty of performance. Really enjoyed driving it. The price. Get back here, was here we go, $32,835, including the destination charge. You want to guess what the destination was?
Destination. Let's see, $1,295.
Ooh, you went over by $200.
Oh, I was close.
$1,095.
$1,095.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's pretty close.
So
okay.
For 30, just shy of $33,000, this thing comes really well equipped.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to drive. And it's one of a dying breed of manual transmission sedans in a reasonable size.
Buy it while you can, people. It's going bye-bye. You know it is. They're all There's not going to be manuals around for that much longer.
I would give the Jetta GLI, probably another 2, maybe 3 years at most.
You think?
Yeah.
That makes me kind of sad.
Yeah, I know.
It's a fun little car.
Yeah. I mean, the DSG is not bad, but the manual's better.
I know. There's something about, there's just something about smashing the pedal to the floor and shifting. Like, there's going through the motions of driving a manual. It's just fun. You cannot
doing
get
it well
that without.
Is a very satisfying experience.
Yes, like when you do it, when you feel like I just nailed that, like I got it perfectly. You're like, yeah, like you feel like a race car driver. You're not, but you feel like one.
Yeah, I went out last Saturday. It was like 75 degrees here, and the sun was shining, and all the leaves had turned color. And I went and took the Miata out for a drive for a couple of hours. And
Nice.
So lovely.
See, because you don't have any more days like that. Is it cold?
Yep.
It's like, I think it's supposed to drop in the 20s here tonight. I believe my low is 29, which is horrifying.
It was about 60 here today.
It did get warm today, but I'm looking at tonight's low, 29.
Oof.
Damn, it's too cold. I disapprove.
Yeah, it's supposed to get down to 33 today.
Yeah,
But
see?
64 and sunny tomorrow.
But that's perfect. You can take the Miata out for another little drive.
Yeah.
That's perfect driving weather.
Absolutely. As long as the temperature is above 40 and there's no salt on the road, I will take the
then
Miata
you're
out.
okay. Yes, I agree.
All right. Let's see. There's let's talk about another car that I think both of us had a chance to drive a couple of weeks ago. The embargo's lifted since the last time that we recorded, which is the Toyota Crown. You drove
the Crown.
Yeah.
I did drive the Crown. Yes.
So the Crown is a replacement for the Avalon. Mm-hmm. Brings back a badge, a nameplate that has been it started 70 years ago, and it's been on sale continuously in Japan. But they dropped the Crown nameplate here in North America in 1973. So it's almost 50 years since Toyota sold a Crown here in the U.S. And it's coming back in early 2023 as a big sedan. Mm-hmm. It's a little different. What did you think of it?
I liked it, but I didn't love it.
There's a rousing interest.
Sorry, Toyota. Look, I made Sam. I killed him. I've killed my co-host. No, I liked it. I didn't think it was. I guess I wanted it to. I think the styling is kind of neat. I like how the two-tone thing they have going on, where you can get that like black hood and the black roof. It makes it look kind of fun and sporty. Like I think it looks better than an Avalon. I don't know that I feel like the drive was particularly amazing. Like it was, I feel like fine is such an insult, but it was fine. Like everything was solid. Everything was good. The interior is fine. The infotainment, everything was fine, but nothing was particularly overly impressive to me. What did you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an odd car because it's a sedan. It's a fastback sedan. So, sort of coupe-ish fastback sedan. But it's 4 inches taller than the Avalon. But it only has an extra half inch of ground clearance.
So it looks like it should be like, oh, I got kind of an SUV thing, but not quite. And it's like, no, not even close. Because you really didn't, you get no SUV-ish ground clearance. You just have a little bit of that styling to it.
Yeah. And you would think that, okay, they've kept the floor roughly where it was before. They lifted the roof by 4 inches. This thing's going to be cavernous inside. And it's not. It's got basically the same interior dimensions as the Avalon did.
Yeah.
Which means that, they lifted the floor and the roof by 4 inches.
Yeah.
And there's like 3.5 inches of empty space under it. Maybe it's hard to tell. My guess is when I went back and looked at the specs, my thought was, okay, they must have designed this to package protect it for a battery pack for an EV.
Yes.
And at some point, they will launch a battery electric version of this.
It's funny that you say that because several of the people I was talking to at the launch, as we were talking about what you've just said it's got to be an EV. It's got to be because there's an EV. Everyone had that same sense, like not next week, but like it's somewhere down the line. But this does have The one thing that was cool, they have the powertrain, and I'm desperately, they call it a hybrid max. Am I getting this right?
So it's standard hybrid across the board on all 3 trim levels.
Right.
But there's 2 different hybrid systems.
Yes. So the hybrid, there's the hybrid, and kind of think like a hybrid. It drives like one, there's nothing new. But then they have the hybrid max, which is, it does have better performance.
Oh, yeah.
It is a significant difference. So, but you also take a fuel economy hit. So if you're buying the hybrid, a hybrid car, because you're like, okay, I'm all about fuel economy, gas prices are going through the roof, my budget's going to be out the window, I am really focused on that fuel economy, I have a long commute, I'm driving all over, you get much better performance out of the hybrid max, but it was a pretty big fuel economy hit, as I recall. And of course, I can't find the figures as I'm looking at this.
It's about 31 miles per gallon combined for the hybrid max and 41 for the standard hybrid.
So you're talking about 10 mpg. That's
But,
not. It's not like,
you know,
it's
for
not
a car this
amount.
size, 30 miles per gallon is not bad.
Well, it's still good. That's what I mean. It's not bad for this car, but like there's a big difference when you go to the hybrid max. You definitely, like sometimes, you know, like when you look at like a front wheel drive, all wheel drive car, it's like, oh, you lost 2 mpg. It's like, oh no, you lose a lot of mpg when you go from the hybrid to the hybrid max. So I still think I would do that though. I would still go with the max because I liked how it drove so much better. It would be worth it to me.
Yeah,
I would do it.
I totally agree. So the base powertrain is the traditional Toyota hybrid system. You know, it's basically the same powertrain that was in the Avalon, and you'll find in the Sienna and the Highlander and the Camry hybrids, and the RAV4 2.5 liter 4-cylinder with the hybrid, the eCVT hybrid. So, you know, when you're accelerating, it'll rev up to 4,000 RPM and sit there at 4,000 RPM waiting for the car to catch up, you know, to speed. It is all-wheel drive, but it's like all-wheel drive. It's on-demand all-wheel drive. So it'll only put about 10 or 15% of the torque on the rear axle. It's electrically driven rear axle. So that, you know, so it is essentially the exact same powertrain that you will find in a Highlander hybrid, RAV4 hybrid, or the Sienna, which is a standard hybrid. Yeah. Then the hybrid max is the same setup that is in the Lexus RX 450h or 450h F Sport or the 500 RX 500.
I'm going to admit I'm now lost in the alphabet soup there, Sam.
It's the top of the line new Lexus RX, whatever number goes with that. And that's a 2.4 liter turbo 4-cylinder, and instead of the continuously variable transmission, it's got a standard 6-speed automatic hybrid system. And that one, it has a more powerful electric motor on the rear axle. So it's doing all-wheel drive all the time. So it feels a lot better balanced. It's a lot more responsive when you want to accelerate. You do give up that, you know, that fuel economy, but it's a lot more enjoyable to drive, a lot more pleasant to drive.
I would, without a doubt, go with a hybrid max engine powertrain. I'd do that without even having to think about it. I'm like, oh, that's the one right there. That's what you want. Yeah.
The trunk size is pretty decent. Like it's big enough to accommodate, I think, 4 carry-on bags on their sides. And then, you know, some additional detritus in there. The back seat is fairly roomy, but again, you know, given the height, you know, you have a taller hip point, so it's easier to get in and out of, so you're not dropping down into it. So for those of us that are getting old, you know, it's a little easier to get in and out of.
Well, and that actually is a big, like, you know, my mom has mobility issues, so very often when I take her out to lunch and we have various cars, it's a little test of like, just how easy is this for someone who is not spry any longer? And I literally thought about it, I'm like, the seating position, the way that hip point is, that would be much easier for her to get into. So if you have mobility issues, or if you're frequently carrying those who do, this is definitely a good car to at least test drive at some point and check it out, because I think it is going to be easier for people who are having a little trouble getting in and out of a car.
Yeah, and it's got the new Toyota infotainment system, which is quite nice. You know, aside from the one complaint I've registered on a couple of occasions before, that it will only show you one thing at a time. Yeah. You can't do a split screen with navigation and your audio controls on the screen at the same time.
But I do love how responsive it is. Like when you say, "Hey Toyota," most of the time it hears you on the first try, and it does a really good job of like, "Hey Toyota, where's the nearest Starbucks?" And it's like, "Here's your Starbucks, Nicole." Like it finds it pretty quick. It's not like, "Here's Star Sword." I'm like, "What? That's not what I said." You know, it does a good job of figuring out what it is that you said on the first try, and that's a big deal for me.
And unlike the Lexus RX that absolutely positively refused to recognize my voice under any circumstances, but always recognized Tanya's voice, Tanya Godzik, who I was driving
You're
with.
really bitter about this. You've mentioned this more than once, Sam. You're holding a grudge.
Just a little. But the Crown worked perfectly every time. Never a
Go
flaw.
Crown, go.
Yeah. And interestingly, on the day that I was there, and the wave I was there, was the day they made the announcement that Toyota was switching away from Amazon Alexa voice services to Google Cloud AI voice services. So basically using the same Google Assistant voice recognition system. So the way the voice rec works in this new Toyota system is, you say something, if it has connectivity, it'll send it up to the cloud, do the voice recognition, and return whatever response is appropriate. And then it's got a subset of that built into the car if you don't have good connectivity. And so they were able to change all this on the back end and so across all the vehicles, all the new Toyota and Lexus vehicles that have this new infotainment system, they were able to just flip a switch and switch over from Amazon to Google Voice recognition.
Which is pretty cool.
So the Google Voice, I talked to the head of that group, and he said, they made the switch because the Google Voice recognition works better, was more reliable, and it was able to recognize more things than the Alexa voice services.
That's good, because the thing that I think always holds me back from using voice recognition in a car, and I make this assumption when I get in, and I have to no, you got to try it out, is that I feel like I spend so much time yelling into the air while I'm driving, repeatedly, and I get so frustrating. I'm like, it drives me nuts. So it makes me not want to use the voice activated stuff, and it's great to be able to. So I feel like every last little bit of better recognition that they can put in there, huge. So that's good news.
And I can't remember the pricing on the Crown.
It's free. Let's see.
No, nothing.
Isn't that how it goes? There's no
nothing is
pricing
free.
on it. It's free. Wait, I'm looking to see if I see it here. Was it listed in this?
I got to find my
Brain cramp.
my Forbes
Guys, we
wheels
were
review.
unprepared. Sorry. I know. I'm looking at it right now. Where did you put it in here? I'm reading your review. Did you not put pricing in this review?
$39,950
Okay.
for the XLE, which is
Oh,
the
there it
base
is.
model.
Okay.
And the limited is $45,550. The platinum is usually
Mid-level limited, mid-level
I don't have
limited.
the price for the platinum for some
No,
reason.
you just have the limit. You just have the mid-level limited, which is $45,550.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I think the platinum is around $49,000. So
Okay.
around
So
close
still
to
a good-
$50,000.
Yeah, so still, I mean, again, a reasonable price. This isn't like a base level, entry level sedan. This is sitting at like the top of the Toyota lineup. It's got all the new bells and whistles. So that pricing actually fits, I think, with what you're getting.
Yeah. And it's a good looking car
Yeah.
and roomy.
It's good. I like it. I mean, I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
It's different. There's drawbacks to it, but I think overall, thumbs up. Good job,
Yeah,
Toyota.
especially in the two-tone.
Yeah, the two-tone makes it look so slick.
Yeah.
Some people really hate it. I love the two-tone. I think that makes it look really good.
The red and black was my favorite.
It looks really good. I'm with you.
All right. Let's see. Next up,
Yes.
Ford announced the 2023 Escape. So mid-cycle
Escape.
update for the Escape.
The Escape.
Which is basically just a new face with a wider grille and new headlights.
They changed their trim lineup. They gave it new names. It's
Yep.
like base and active, and I don't remember. Those are the only two I remember.
The active is the base trim.
Okay.
So there's active, platinum, PHEV, and the ST line.
Okay.
So the plug-in hybrid is now its own trim level.
Yep.
And then ST line is sort of the sportier looking monochromatic. So instead of the black wheel arches, it's got body colored wheel arches and mirrors and everything. So it's not, if you get the ST line with all-wheel drive, there is a little bit of retuning of the damping and the springs to give it a little better handling. But otherwise, there's no other mechanical changes for the ST line, so it's not really going to be any faster. You just pay a little bit more for it. The big difference is in the interior, where it now has the same 13.2-inch touchscreen that you'll find in the updated Corsair, Lincoln Corsair, and in the Nautilus and a bunch of other stuff. It's widely used across a bunch of Ford and Lincoln vehicles. And it's got Sync 4 now, updated electronic architecture, so it can support OTA updates for everything. But the downside of this bigger screen is they got rid of the physical climate control buttons that used to be underneath the center vents. And so now they have a row, it's a permanent row of touch controls along the bottom of the screen, but they're still touch controls that you have to look at. You can't just reach over and give it a twist or tap to change the.
I feel like it was like an in between. Like, well, we're going to give you this nice, fancy new big screen, but we can't quite do everything we want to do just yet. You have to wait for the all new before that happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's my thought.
Yep. But the screen does look nice, and you do have a physical volume knob, so you still do have some physical controls. That's just not for the climate controls.
Yeah.
And no pricing on it yet, but the order banks are open, and they should be hitting dealers early in the new year.
Yeah. So not too long.
Yeah. What else? The GMC revealed the Sierra EV Denali Edition 1, which is their version of the Silverado EV. It's got distinct styling from the Silverado. It's very GMC-ish styling, sharper creases, more professional grade, I think is the correct terminology there.
Yes, I believe that's the correct lingo.
Yeah. And I like the look. It's a good looking truck. Same size as the Sierra or as the Silverado, which means it's also the same size as the F-150 Lightning. But like the Silverado, it's got the unibody setup like the old Chevy Avalanche, so the bed is not separated from the cab. You've got the cab is a little bit longer than what you get on the Lightning. So it's the same architecture as the Silverado, and it has the midgate. So with the midgate folded down and the multi-flex tailgate folded down with the stopper up, you get almost 11 feet of cargo space. And they were showing it off with a half inflated inflatable paddleboard.
Only half inflated. I feel like they should have gotten one that was the right size to inflate the whole thing.
Well, it was the right size. They just didn't pump it all the way up. You could you could see the wrinkles in it because it wasn't at full pressure.
Got it.
But it was an 11-foot paddleboard.
Okay.
And interestingly, at the time when they showed it to us and gave us the backgrounder on it a few days before they unveiled it, they told us that on the Denali Edition 1, which is going to be the first one that comes out, which, by the way, is already sold out. So if you were hoping to reserve one of those, you're out of luck.
Of course it is.
They won't tell us how many that is. So it could be 5. It could be 5,000. It could be 50,000.
All 2 people who got one.
We don't know. But they told us, it's a dual motor setup. They told us it would have 754 horsepower and 785 foot-pounds of torque, which is more than the 580 and 775 you get in the Lightning. It's also more than the 660 horsepower that Chevy told us the Silverado would have when they unveiled it last January. Right after GMC took the wraps off the Silverado EV, Chevy came out and said, "Oh, we're going to have the same 754 horsepower available."
Yeah.
So, whatever. So more than enough horsepower.
All All the horses you could want.
Yeah. Same 200 kilowatt hour battery pack that's in the Hummer EV and the high-end Silverados. They wouldn't talk about how much it weighs still, which means that it probably weighs somewhere between 8,000 and 8,500 pounds. It does have the four-wheel steering, and unlike the Silverado, which will not support crab mode, the Sierra will have crab mode.
Like, I love crab mode, but I feel like it's not something. How often, like, really realistically, how often do you think someone's going to truly, honestly need crab mode?
About 3 times in their
Ever.
life.
In the whole time that they own the vehicle.
Just enough times to show it off to their friends.
That's true. I guess for those 3 times you use it.
Yeah.
Like, look at what my truck can do.
It depends on how many friends you have that you want to show it off to.
Oh, so more popular
if you have more
people,
friends,
that might
use
be
it
like
more.
6 times. Less
Yeah.
popular people, 1 or 2. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's all a popularity contest. Oh, it's like high school all over again.
But it's got a front trunk, got all the power outlets. It'll have bidirectional charging capability like the Lightning. That'll be standard on here. And 19.2 kilowatt onboard charger, so you can at about 100 miles in about 10 minutes. That's 100 miles, 10 minutes will be with 350 kilowatt DC fast charging.
Okay.
But the 19.2 kilowatt charger will refill that 200 kilowatt hour battery pack easily overnight. GM is saying 0 to 60 times is going to be about 4.5 seconds, 400-mile range, and it should be able to get. That means it should be able to get about 200 miles when you're towing.
Right. Yeah. Big difference.
And the Sierra EV Denali Edition 1 won't be coming out until early 2024. So
we've
almost
got
a year
ways
after,
to wait for that.
Yeah, almost a year after the Silverado. So it's going to be a while. And then
I wonder why. Was there anything said about why the wait is so long? Is this like this so that who knows production?
Yeah,
chips,
I guess they want to crank
supply
out Silverados
chain,
first.
Blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yep. One interesting detail about the interior is, unlike the Silverado, which has a landscape 17.5-inch display, this one has a 16.8-inch portrait-style touchscreen display with a volume knob on it, just like a Lightning.
I was going to say, when you look at this image, it's so like screen that looks just like a Lightning.
Yep, it's exactly the same thing that's on the Lightning and the Mach-E.
Yeah.
It's and I think it's funny. Mike Levine, who's director of North American product communications at Ford, tweeted out after this came out, said, "Hey guys," he tweeted to GMC, "Hey guys, just let us know. We can send you over the CAD drawings for that."
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I love it.
So the Edition 1 is going to cost $107,000 plus delivery charge. And they will have versions starting from about
50. I think it
from
says
about
the elevation will
$50,000
start
for
at
the base
50. So
elevation model.
$50,000. So in the zone of like what you'd expect for base models of an EV.
I mean, that's the same price now as the Lightning Pro.
Right,
the Lightning
right.
Pro price is up to $51,000 now.
So in the rate, so not a crazy price. 107, woo, that's crazy. But the starting price, 50, yeah, that's about on right.
Yep. All right. What else do we have? Staying with EVs.
Yes.
BMW made a big announcement down in Spartanburg that starting in 26, they're going to start building EVs in Spartanburg. They didn't say which models, but electric versions of some of their SUVs based on their new Neue class platform. They're investing $1.7 billion to tool up for EVs, $1 billion for the assembly plant, another $700 million to build a new battery pack assembly plant, and then Envision AESC, which started off as a joint venture between Nissan and NEC to build batteries for the Leaf, and then was sold off to another company called Envision, is building a nearby cell plant that will be providing the cells for BMW. a 30 gigawatt hour, roughly, cell plant. And they're going to be spending about $3.5 billion on that plant.
They're investing some serious cash there.
They are, and they're planning to churn out a lot of EVs. I think the Spartanburg plant has a capacity of 450,000 units a year.
Wow, that's a lot of cars.
It's BMW's largest plant anywhere in the world.
Oh, really?
Yes, their largest assembly plant. And
I didn't know
that plant is also the single largest exporter of cars from the U.S. And of any, roughly. I think they export about 250,000 vehicles a year.
So it's not even like most of them are staying here. A huge chunk of them is going.
Yeah, about a little more than a third of their production goes overseas.
Okay.
Because most of the models they build there, the X5, the X6, the X3, the X7, are only built there. So they're building those vehicles, those big SUVs for the global market.
Yeah.
And they export more than any other plant in the U.S.
Wow.
And they're saying they'll have about 300,000 units. They're initially going to have about 300,000 units of EV production there. So that'll be interesting to watch. Uber, if you're taking an Uber in the coming months, you will probably find that it will be taking fewer left turns.
This makes me think of UPS, because UPS are supposed to follow a path where they make as few left turns as possible because it wastes less time and gas, and they can get more done in a day if they don't make left turns.
And it's safer, too.
And safer, because you have to cross across traffic, yeah.
FedEx and UPS and other delivery companies have been using this strategy for more than a decade of doing routing. Instead of making a left turn, they'll go around and do 3 right turns because it's a lot safer, and you spend less time sitting there waiting at intersections to do left turns,
right.
Whereas you can usually go through do your right turns right away.
Yep.
And Uber's going to be doing the same thing. They've got their own routing engine built into the Uber app for drivers now, and so they'll be doing setting up the routes with as few left turns as they can get away with.
So you wonder how many people who know, sometimes you're taking Uber and you have no idea where you are. You just are, okay, fine. But if you're in a town or someplace where and suddenly you're like, wait, it's left there. And the driver's like, no, I got to go right. Yeah. I'll get there.
Yeah, we'll be there in a minute.
We'll be there in a second. Hold on. My thing says I have to turn right here.
Yeah. All right. Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. Last item, do you know what Argo AI is?
I remember hearing about Argo AI, and now it looks like it is no more.
Yeah. Argo AI is a company that was started in late 2016 by Brian Selesky and Pete Rander. Brian was formerly at the Google self-driving car project, led software development there. And he was also the software lead on the Carnegie Mellon team that won the 2007 DARPA Grand Challenge. And Pete was also from Carnegie Mellon, and he worked at Uber ATG on their self-driving car stuff. They started Argo in late 2016. In early 2017, Ford invested $1 billion in Argo.
$1 billion, that's a chunk of money, man.
Yep. And Argo was set up to develop automated vehicles, level 4 automated vehicles. And Ford decided that instead of developing that stuff in-house, they would fund Argo to do it for them. Later on, Volkswagen joined in, and they took a stake. So Ford and VW each owned 80% of Argo, and then the founders owned the other 20%. and they've been working on this stuff for almost 6 years now. They've actually had vehicles running, automated Ford Escapes running on Lyft in Austin, Texas, and Miami for several months now. And I'm going to be in Austin in a couple of weeks, and I was planning on popping into downtown Austin and taking a ride in the Argo vehicles, but now I won't have that opportunity because during Ford's earnings call, third quarter earnings call the other day, they announced, Argo's going to shut down. John Lawler or Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, said, we've come to the realization that it's going to take a long time to get to profitable scale with robotaxi and automated delivery services, and we're going to focus on doing level 2 and level 3 driver assist systems for now. And what was left unsaid was, also that we're spending many tens of billions of dollars on electrification.
Yeah.
And so Ford and VW pulled their funding from Argo. Argo was hoping to do an IPO this year. But the way the market is, that obviously became a non-starter.
Right.
And they were looking for other investors, and nobody seemed to be interested in stepping up to put in money. And so they all gave up, and they're shutting it down.
It's interesting because you looked at when this was 2017 when they were really going full bore, and there was this sort of move on automakers. Like, we're going to have all this self-driving technology. We're going to have it so fast you guys aren't going to believe it. And we're going to have taxis. It'll take you everywhere. And we're going to do all this, and we're doing electric vehicles. It's like, you guys, that's all of that. All of those things are super duper expensive and not all simple and easy and straightforward. And you're putting a lot of stuff into two very expensive areas where you're going to get your most bang for your buck. And it's like, well, maybe the robotaxi is not the way to go, and the EV is. So you can see it makes business sense. Like, you can't. None of it. It was. When we're all listening, it's like we're going to even drive cars by 2022. Like, forget it. They're going to drive themselves. There was this sort of like hype about it that I think anybody looking the inside was sort of like, that's not going to happen like that. And surprise, it's not going to happen like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember, Travis Kalanick, the former CEO of Uber, talking about, we're going to have robo-taxis on the road in 2018, start getting rid of human drivers in our Uber vehicles. And it's like,
not going to happen. I mean, that's a really nice idea. Cool. But no.
Yep. So that's one. I've long been predicting that there would be a consolidation and a culling in the EV sector. By the time this stuff really got up to scale, there would probably be 4, maybe 5 or 6 companies doing this stuff globally. And I really thought because Argo had some really good technology.
It
really
did seem kind of promising. It's surprising that this is one of the ones that didn't make it,
Yeah, and, I mean, I've ridden in Argo vehicles on several occasions. The system worked really well. But, I expected them to be one of the survivors, and they ran out of runway.
It's just hard. And it's also, like
they
you
won't
said,
be the last. It's
a time where, like, with what's happening with the stock market and the economy right now, like investing in any kind of company, I guess are they still considered a startup? But like these companies like this becomes a heck of a lot more risky, and investors aren't necessarily willing to dump in millions and millions of dollars to keep these things running if they're don't feel a relative amount of certainty that they're going to get their money back on their investment. So, yeah, I think you're right. Well, only the first.
When you look at some of the AV companies that have gone public in the past year and a half, like Aurora, Chris Urmson's company, Too Simple, Kodiak, and others, their stock prices are all down like 80 to 90% from their peak. So, there was no way that Argo was going to be able to go public and raise any significant amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it's too bad. But, something else, I feel bad for the company and the people involved, because it's always hard when that happens at a place that you work. But, someplace else will pick up the slack. You know what I mean? It's just going to sort of shift it from them to somebody else who has either the funding or the tools or whatever. So it's always sad when it happens. It's like, it doesn't mean that it's over. It's just, it's going to have to go to somebody else. They just couldn't quite do it,
All right. Last item for this week. I had the opportunity yesterday to have a chat with probably the best dressed CEO in the auto industry, Stephan Winkelmann. He is the CEO of Lamborghini. And he's always sharply dressed every time you ever see him at an auto show or somewhere. Very handsome man. Anyway, Stefan and I had a chance to chat yesterday for about 20 minutes or so. Talked about where Lamborghini's going, the future of the brand, going electric eventually, going hybrid first, and then going electric. So I'm going to drop that in here.
Okay.
And before please make sure you listen to that. Let's say goodbye, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. All right. Well, hello, and thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to meet you. We've never spoken before, but it's I'd like to It's been interesting watching the transformation of Lamborghini over the last 15, 20 years, during your tenure with the company, both your original tenure and now again, sales have grown more than tenfold in that time. And, it's really become a very, very much a very different brand, but in many ways, very much, sticking with the heritage of Lamborghini. And I guess I'd like to hear your thoughts on, kind of where you see Lamborghini today and where you see the brand going in the next decade.
So that the brand today is a company which has 3 model lines. We worked in the last almost 20 years very much on building up a clear brand story by creating a business case from the 2 model company, putting deliveries in place, few offs, one-offs, and then adding a 3rd model to foster the results and to enable the company to grow further in the future. Now, the next big challenge is to have a clear transition between internal combustion engines into the hybridization first in the next couple of years, and then to move into full electrification starting from the end of this decade. So these are the big challenges of the next couple of years, and for sure the entire decade of the 20s.
Yeah, a big part of the Lamborghini, the way people think of Lamborghini, has been obviously the way they look. They've always had a distinct look about them. They've been very very aggressive looking, but also the sound and the visceral experience. The sound of a Lamborghini V12 is unlike anything else. And I'm curious, how do you keep the Lamborghini feel, that visceral experience of a Lamborghini as you move forward into the era of electrification, first with hybridization and then with full electric?
So there are 4 elements which are for us the key identifiers of a Lamborghini. One is the design, and we will continue to have a very distinctive and very recognizable design, but also very different from one generation to the next. The second one is the hard facts in terms of performance, means the numbers, seconds and mileage, top speed and things like this, lap time. And the third one is the perceived performance. So how you perceive the emotion of driving a Lamborghini, which is not always one-on-one on, let's say, the naked numbers. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth one, as you said, is the sound. So in the years to come, the sound will be safeguarded. So with internal combustion engines on the hybrids, we will have still the incredible sound of our engines. For the full electric era, I have to admit that we have not decided yet if there will be, let's say, only the sound of the electric engine, so the particular sound which is this, or if we create a sound which is then the new sound for Lamborghini. This is something which we have not decided, and we are not in a rush to decide this, because we also want to go into it and understand a bit how this can be best handled, not only for today, but also for the generations to come, for the younger people, which have a different mindset maybe of the ones who are driving the cars today.
So as you make the transition to electric, is the plan to have the entire lineup become electric? And what kind of time frame? Or do you plan to keep some, at least for a time, keep some hybrid vehicles in the lineup? Keep some internal combustion in there?
We have the legislator is telling us that by 2035, 2036, we need to have, and this is also valid for a lot of states in the US, for example, that have to be zero emission vehicles. Today, it seems that there is a ban, at least in the European Union, which is not finally decided, of gas and diesel engines, but there is still the idea that there could be other types of technology valid after the second half of the 30s, so after 36. And we are today looking into the end of this decade to electrify, fully electrify those cars which are more daily usable, like the Urus or the fourth model, which will come as the first full electric car. For the two super sports cars, the Aventador and the Huracan follower, we want to keep the hybrid engine or the hybrid system as long as we can, so also for the beginning of the 30s. And we want to see if there's an opportunity, maybe with synthetic fuel, to have the technology of the mix of combustion engine and electrification still going after 2035. But this depends a lot on the availability of this type of fuel, and also of the legal frame the different countries and regions are giving us. We have to be compliant, let's say, with the toughest regulations, because we are building a car for the world, not a car which is different in every region.
Clearly, a big part of the success that Lamborghini has been able to achieve in the last 20 years has been, because it has become part of the Volkswagen Group. You no longer have the financial challenges that the brand had for many, many years. As you move forward, how important is it that, or how much collaboration will there be between Lamborghini and your colleagues across the rest of the group?
You're right. There are huge benefits in terms of being part of a group like the Volkswagen Group, especially in synergies and scale when it comes to purchasing, high quality and lower costs. Then also with the new software being more and more big part of the cars of the future. But I also have to say that we are a very solid company, and that we can finance the future on our own. So all what we are doing, and we have the biggest investments in front of us in the history of Lamborghini, this is all self-financed. So we have, yes, synergies, but we also have to act like an independent, a completely independent manufacturer, because the group is asking everybody to do a healthy business. And we have today the best results ever. We have profit by the end of September of already 570 million euro. We have delivered 7,430 cars by the end of September. So we are approaching a new record year, and on top of that, we have more than 1.5 years of waiting time for our cars in production. So we are in a situation which is very important.
Yeah, you're on track now for sales of almost 10,000 vehicles this year, as you mentioned, an all-time record. How big do you expect Lamborghini to get? Is there an upper limit, for a brand like Lamborghini in terms of sales?
So for sure, we have to keep exclusivity. This is one of the things, always build less than demand. As I said, we have an order bank which is exceeding already the 18 months. And in the past, we have increased our production capacity already twice. And the future challenges are huge because we are a capital intense industry, and the life cycles are getting shorter, the technology is moving faster. So if we want to protect our super sports cars, and if we want to have, let's say, a dream car also tomorrow, then it's important that we create enough profit to reinvest in the future. This said, we are not looking at the sales. We are looking at profitability and making the best out of every single car. So we are not looking to exceed certain numbers in terms of sales, because this is not what Lamborghini is all about, because we sell dreams and not mobility.
Clearly, the Urus has been a major part of the growth in the last several years. Do you expect to add more models to the Lamborghini lineup in the coming years, additional nameplates besides obviously you've got the special limited production models like the new Countach and so on, but do you expect to add additional models to your main lineup of vehicles?
Yes, we want to have a fourth model, which will be then the first full electric car, which will come at the end of this decade. This is the idea we're having. It should be then a GT, a T+2, a two-door car with a bit more ground clearance, because a GT car is important in our lineup, and this is difficult for a car company like ours. So we think that this is a good match for Lamborghini also in the future, because also Ferruccio Lamborghini, when he founded the company, he started with GT cars. So therefore, we think that this is a good add-on together with the two super sports cars and the SUV being the Urus.
Okay. Let's see what else. Back here with my notes. So that first EV, that would be a higher ground clearance 2+2 GT, you said something along. Would it be fair to compare it to something like the new model that your competitors in Maranello recently introduced, the Purosangue, that sort of form factor?
No, because we have our own history. The Purosangue is a four-door car, and it's a completely different technology. The Purosangue is an internal combustion engine car only, right, and is not what we intend to do for the first model.
Okay. All right. Then besides, the expansion of the lineup with the Urus, another thing that has changed for Lamborghini over the last 15 years or so is more of an involvement in motorsports. And I'm curious, from the Super Trofeo to your involvement in GT3 competition, and now your upcoming LMDH prototype. How important has motorsports been as part of building up the Lamborghini brand?
I think you hit an important point. For us, it's very important because we started, as you said, with the one main race here, so with the Gentleman Drivers Cup. This was at the end of 2009. And from then onwards, we developed it in different regions. And even if Ferruccio Lamborghini was not keen to enter motorsport, I think today this has a very clear strategy for us, because on one hand side, it's helping us to test and develop the street legal cars, but it's also something which is very healthy, that you enter into competition with other brands. And on the GT3 level, we did very well as a newcomer. And the LMDH is an idea, not being a hybrid car and a hybrid championship. This is perfectly fitting also to our strategy, which is stepping in the next couple of years. So it comes really in the right time.
So with the prototype program, will there be a factory run team for that, or is that something where you'll be selling the cars to customer teams?
So it will be something in between. It will not be let's say a factory team, and it will not be an entirely team of a customer. So it will be a split responsibility. We are more into the development and preparing the car, and the team is more about let's say managing the race cars, and yeah, there will be a good collaboration model which we will present in the next year.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. There's been some very interesting race cars coming out this past year, and both in LMH and LMDH classes.
Right.
I'll be interested to see.
It's a very crowded, let's say, environment, and this is very healthy now, because we are not only inside, also away, so we are covering the entire world, and this is a lot of visibility and a lot of opportunities, and this is good for our business.
Okay. Going back for a moment to electrification. I know, prior to your return to Lamborghini, you ran Bugatti for a while, and they are now part of Rimac. Will they be involved, or will you be collaborating with them as part of your EV development?
Well, Rimac is a supplier like many other, and we will decide in the future who is the best partner for us. There is no decision made so far.
Okay. Well, I think that covers most of what I wanted to talk about today. Are there any other things that listeners should be thinking about, as far as Lamborghini and how the brand will evolve and grow in the coming years?
No, I think we said it all. I think we covered up very well with the things you asked.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Mr.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.